The court is in session. Hello book besties, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emasu, a book lover that's always on a binge. And for today's video, we are going through all the books that I read in the month of May, which is 14 books, including 4 audiobooks and 3 art copies that were given to me in exchange for my honest opinions. So I'm going to go through each one of them with my ratings and let you know what I thought about them. In case you're wondering about this thing right here, this is my hammer of justice. This is actually a light stick from the K-pop group Blackpink, and I am indeed a blink, and I will use this from now on whenever I do these reading wrap-ups to tell you guys how much I love the book, and if I don't, you'll know as well. The first book that I read in the month of May is actually a debut sports romance novel written by one of my book besties. Her name is Ella. I gave it 4.25 stars. I thought it was an amazing way to introduce her writing to the world, and the story between Rhodes and Roman was just so adorable. This is a new adult romance, so the spice itself is closed doors, but the tension that these two have for each other, incredible. The comedic relief to it was hilarious. I got to learn about skiing, which I've never done before, never really heard much of before. So I found myself being educated throughout the story as well, but in a fun and entertaining way. If you guys love a good comedy romance with a sports-centered story, then pick this book up. Next, I read A Fairy Hunter's Guide for the Recently Undead, which is an ER copy that I was given and reviewed on. And you know what? This was interesting. I thought it was very lyrical, very descriptive writing, but unfortunately, it wasn't really up my alley as I thought it would be. It is a dark romantasy, and the world itself, if you've guys seen Pan's Labyrinth, that movie, it very much gives that type of vibe where the world building is rich and eerie. The faves are not the whimsical kind, but instead are dark and twisted in so many ways. Although I enjoyed the writing, the plot just felt very disjointed. I feel like the chapters would just end very abruptly, and the romance of this was very soft and sweet. I think it had a happy ending, but overall, this book was unfortunately not for me. And then I picked up a high fantasy book, The Jazad Heir by Sarah Hashem. This was incredible. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is an Egyptian-inspired fantasy book with a plot that is so rich, intense, and so deeply compelling, with true enemies to lovers. Like, we're talking about them trying to unalive one another, like inflicting actual damage upon the other. Okay, and the slowest of burns, and I was basically screaming, kicking the whole time I was reading this because that ending, vile. This follows Sylvia, our morally gray, strong-willed FMC, who is in fact a princess of her kingdom, which was eradicated by another nation due to the fact that their magic is seen as a threat to everyone else. And now she lives a life that she doesn't even want for herself, but she has to do in order to survive, especially with all the guilt and trauma of her past. She struggles a lot with her identity, grief, and loyalty, especially because she lost her entire kingdom when she was young. And then unfortunately, one day she was caught by the prince of the nation that destroyed her own kingdom, and Sylvia was basically blackmailed into working with him. Now she has to do her very best to make sure that nobody knows her real identity of being a royal magical wielder. Even though they absolutely hate each other, you can't deny their chemistry. They should hate each other. They have to hate each other. But there is some underlying tension going on there, and it's palpable. There are so many moments where you don't know if they're either gonna kill each other or kiss each other. I'd recommend this if you're interested in high fantasy books with a subplot of romance. This next one literally had me bawling my eyes out. If you guys haven't seen my May TBR reading vlog, you need to watch it because I myself became a waterfall with all the tears that came out of me. It is The Invisible Life of Addie Laru by V.E. Schwab. This is my first ever V.E. Schwab book. It did not disappoint. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is a historical fantasy paranormal romance, I want to say, with such an incredible plot that literally left me staring at a wall. Because what was he supposed to do after reading this? V. Schwab's writing was just so cohesive and poetic and really had me feeling like I was going on a journey with the characters themselves. This follows a young woman named Adeline in 1714 France, and she unfortunately makes a deal with the wrong type of god, resulting in her having this long life, an immortal life. But there's a catch. No one can remember her. She can't even say her name or write it down, so no one really knows her. And as soon as people lose sight of her, they completely forget about her, forget she even existed in the first place. So Adeline ends up living a very lonely life until 300 years later, she meets a stranger at a bookstore that ends up remembering her name. By the end of this, I was just an emotional wreck, and this is absolutely a masterpiece of a book. If you were like me and was terrified about picking this up, just do it, because I'm regretting not picking it up way sooner. After that, I really needed a pick-me-up type of book, and so I read My Dark Romeo, which is in fact a billionaire romance. I thought this was a dark romance, but it is not. I gave this book 3.75 stars. This was very interesting. Like, I had such a great time with it, but there were also some irksome moments that put me off. This follows our FMC Dallas, who is a debutante, and during one of those events, she ends up meeting Romeo, who is a grumpy billionaire, but is highly obsessed with Dallas. They were very much giving grumpy ex-sunshine dynamic. They made each other's lives very intolerable, but they forgave each other so easily. They're both stubborn and very chaotic, but it's very much them. And the spice, it's on brand for them, so we're not here to judge. I also really enjoyed the group chats that Romeo and his friends have with each other. There's very dark humor in those. This might not be for everyone. Let me warn you, there are some disturbing things that they say over there. It was still entertaining, so I don't know what that says about me. And then apparently I needed more pain in my life, so I picked up The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is not my usual type of read. In fact, I've never read from this author, nor have I read historical fiction, period. So this was an experience, to say the least. I gave this book 4 stars. It was painstakingly beautiful. The story follows 2 sisters in World War II era France. Each sister embarks on her own treacherous journey throughout the war, and they go through a whirlwind of hope, fear, guilt, and survival. How they handled everything that had happened to them through the trauma that they faced was so heartbreaking. I don't think this book is for everyone, but if you want a good cry, you might want to read a Kristen Hanna book, because I feel I might have to read the others as well. Next, I listened to 4 audiobooks in a row. It is the Alliance series by S.J. Tilley. The first one is Nero. I gave it 3.5 stars. This was definitely a right book, right time. I had so much fun listening to the audiobook of this. I was literally giggling, kicking my feet. Like, I had a great fucking time. Anyway, Nero is absolutely obsessed with Peyton, and especially with how it starts off, which is totally unhinged. It was a very weird but funny meet cute moment, and it is indeed an age gap romance, so if you're not into that, this may not be for you. But they are both of legal age. Now, Nero is definitely a red flag man and is in fact a stalker, but the way he caters to Peyton's needs, that scored some points. The way that he's so soft to Peyton but radiates touch her and die energy to everyone else. I would want a man that obsessed with me too. And honestly, Peyton is a lucky girl to have Nero, because girly pop could just laze around the whole time and Nero will provide. I definitely think it would have been better if it wasn't an insta-love type of romance, but I still had fun. And then I listened to King, which is the second book. I gave this one 2.75 stars. I was put off a lot in this book, unfortunately. It was not my favorite. In fact, it is my least favorite. This is a book that I would just skip because it is an interconnected standalone series. So for me personally, I would just skip this one if I knew. The first half was great, don't get me wrong, but in the middle it started to get slow, and towards the end it was just like it didn't give. And King himself gave me a lot of icks more than once. One instance was where he snapped his fingers in front of Savannah's face. That put me off. I did not like that. Like, he did that as if she was a dog to stop her. She enjoyed it. She liked that. But personally for me, I was like offended on her behalf. The third book, however, Dom, perfection. I gave this one 4.5 stars. Now, don't get me wrong, Dom is also very much a red flag. More so than Nero, in fact. This man tattooed his name 4 times on Valentine's ring finger because she wouldn't put on a ring. Dom took that to heart and said, "I'ma tattoo my name 4 times because you've been with 4 other guys before me." And I was like, whoa, that is red flag central right there. But how come I felt so giggly? What does that say about me? I think I have issues. I need therapy. He also tattooed Valentine's name across his neck and then tattooed "till death" down his nether region. Yeah. Dom is a perfect blend of obsessed and dark mafia leader, but also being a loving, caring, family-oriented type of man with great humor, might I add. Definitely one of my favorite mafia men to exist. This is a forced marriage trope, by the way. If I didn't say that earlier, I apologize. It's a wild ride, let me tell you, but I had such a good time. So if you just want to read one book from the series, I highly recommend Dom. This is the best one, in my opinion. The last book in the Line series is Hans. Now this one, I gave 3 stars. Hans has also red flag tendencies, but more of a beige flag. He didn't really give that bad boy type to me. He did ask her if he could implant a tracker chip into her. And she said yes. Would that be a green flag because he asked? Or would it be a red flag because he even asked in the first place? Or would it just be a beige? I don't know. It started out so good until we got to the spicy moment where he called her little girl and she called him daddy. I feel it. I still enjoy how obsessed Hans is over Cassie, especially with how he eats everything she cooks, even though she is not a good cook whatsoever. And he does a lot of yearning as well, but as soon as he called her little girl, it just threw me off. I don't think that nickname, and when she said daddy, it's just not for me. The action scene that happened near the end was good. I love seeing a baddie side to Cassie. I also love seeing the group come together, like all 4 of the Alliance men come together with their women and how overprotective they are. I'll just pretend that those spicy scenes where they call each other's father-daughter figures never existed. Therefore, I did enjoy the book. And then at last, I got my first 5-star read of the month, which is Leave Me Behind by Camera Nova. This is a dark military romance and it was incredible. I never knew I needed it in my life. And now here I am wanting to reread again, wanting to forget everything that happened so that I could pick it up and feel the things that I felt the first time I read it. The story follows Nell, a trained unaliver who gets thrown into a black ops squad that absolutely hates her. But the thing is, before she joins them, she has a one-night stand as her last hurrah, not realizing that the man she slept with is in fact the cold, cruel, psychotic commander of the Black Ops squad named Bones. He is very unhinged but undeniably irresistible, and you need to read your trigger warnings because their spice, oh, it's dark and hot. But yeah, read your trigger warnings. There is so much betrayals and secrets and plot twists that was so freaking crazy I did not see coming whatsoever. The enemies to lovers, that brought it home for me. Literally maiming each other, okay? Causing bodily harm to the other person. And although that should have put them off, it in fact turned them on. I had such a great time reading it. Like, I absolutely have no notes for this book. Was it toxic? Yes. But are they made for each other? Yes. This book just gave me so much serotonin and I just loved everything about it. So if you're looking for your next dark romance read that potentially may be a 5-star read for you as well, then pick this book up. The next 2 books I read are ER copies, and the first one is called Unbound by Brittany Gosson. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I was so excited to pick this book up because it has dragons, a princess, a group of thieves, and even witches. The premise is very intriguing. We have multiple characters that are going on their own journey, all converging in the search for this elusive crimson shard. Right from the start, we're introduced to 5 POVs, and as overwhelming as it was very interesting at the same time. Unfortunately, the execution of how the story was being told and the journey that the characters go through didn't really live up to the potential that it had at the beginning. Now, the romance between characters, there's a love triangle and insta-love. I didn't feel the chemistry between these characters whatsoever. I was hoping there would be more to the world building, the magic system, and the plot itself, especially with how the setting felt so inconsistent at times, which made it very hard for me to feel grounded in the world. This next e-arc was actually such a hit for me. It's called Blood Hunter by C.M. Kennedy, and it is a vampire romance set in a modern day setting. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I was really craving a good vampire romance that gave the same vibes as Vampire Diaries, and this delivered. This book has humans, vampires, half vampires, a murder mystery, and secret societies that all exist in this small eerie town called Pine Falls. This follows Juliet, our FMC, who has the worst luck ever, having witnessed the death of her best friend in their own home, which she may or may not have seen fangs in the mix of that. She ends up forming an unlikely partnership with this man named Alex, who is our dark and broody tattooed male main character, and he introduces himself to Juliet as a private investigator of some sort, and is also determined to solving the string of murders that happened following her best friend's death. There was definitely predictable moments, but the way that it was delivered still hit so good. Oh, and the romance, slow. Like slow burn. You don't get much out of the first book. So maybe in the second book you'll see more. I'm not too sure myself. I will definitely be continuing the series though. The last and final book that I read for May is Rewind It Back by Liz Tum40. This was a 5-star read. I was incredibly saddened when I ended this book, because this is the last and final book in the Windy City series, and this follows Rio DeLuca, our golden retriever happy-go-lucky side character in the other books, and in this one, a green flag man, okay? Capital on the M-A-N, man. His and Hallie's love story was incredibly beautiful, and as bittersweet as it is that I have to say goodbye to these characters, it ended so perfectly. Liz Tum40 does it again. Now, if you didn't know, this is a sports romance series. Specifically, this one is a hockey romance with a second chance trope. So if you're not into second chances, this might not be the book for you, but I'm very open to those at times if it is done well. There is no cheating involved. In fact, they are both very, very loyal. So loyal that none of them got into relationships when they broke up, and stayed that way for 6 years until they met up again. Even with time and distance, they were still meant to be together. Like, who, like, what? Now, Rio and Hallie's way of communication through music and the meaning for that was just so heartwarming and meaningful once you read it and you know why they do that. It's just, the fact that I'm not in this world physically pains me. Why am I in the real world? Why can't I be in fiction? That's the main question here. We also got to see our darling and lovable couples from the other books in this, and having a full circle moment towards the end as well. The found family that exists in this world has a chokehold on me. Their chemistry with one another, the way that their friendships are, was just so good. Like, I don't know any other words to explain it. It was just perfect. That's the word I'm looking for. Perfect. This entire series, perfection. Alright everyone, that is all the books that I read in the month of May. If you guys have any recommendations for me for other videos you want to see, or any books that you want me to read, let me know in the comments below. If you guys haven't already, make sure to watch my June TBR video to find out what books I'm reading in the month of June. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!